I haven't been able to sleep much lately. I keep waking up at like 3 a.m., so I take my book downstairs, and today I opened up my book and it opened up to the book of Judith, which I actually haven't read. Uh, but I opened up to this first chapter one, Peril of the Jews, and then I was reading just a little bit about what Book of Judith is about, so I was just going to read through the first and second part, and then a little bit on the other side. Uh, so Judith, chapter 1, War against the Medes. It was the 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, in the great city of Nineveh. At that time, Arphaxad ruled over the Medes in Ecbatana. Around the city he built a wall of blocks of stone, each 3 cubits in height and 6 in length. He made the wall 70 cubits high and 50 thick. At the gates he raised towers of 100 cubits, with a thickness of 60 cubits at the base. The gateway he built to a height of 70 cubits, with an opening 40 cubits wide for the passage of his chariot forces and the marshalling of his infantry. Then King Nebuchadnezzar waged war against King Arphaxad in the vast plain in the district of Ragai. To him there rallied all the inhabitants of the mountain region, all who dwelt along the Euphrates, the Tigris, the Hydaspes, and King Arioch of the Alamites in the plain. Thus many nations came together to resist the people of Chiliod. Ultimatum to the west. Now Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, sent messengers to all the inhabitants of Persia, and to all those who dwelt in the west, to the inhabitants of Cilicia and Damascus, Lebanon and anti-Lebanon, to all who dwelt along the sea coast, to the peoples of Carmel, Gilead, Upper Galilee, and the vast plain of Esdraelon, to all those in Samaria and its cities, and west of the Jordan as far as Jerusalem, Bethany, Chileos, Kadesh, and the river of Egypt, to Tahpanhes, Rames, all the lands of Goshen, Tanis, Memphis, and beyond, and to all the inhabitants of Egypt as far as the borders of Ethiopia. But the inhabitants of all that land disregarded the summons of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, and would not go with him to war. They were not afraid of him, but regarded him as a lone individual opposed to them, and turned away his envoys empty-handed in disgrace. Then Nebuchadnezzar fell into a violent rage against all that land, and swore by his throne and his kingdom that he would avenge himself on all the territories of Cilicia and Damascus and Syria, and also destroy with his sword all the inhabitants of Moab, Ammon, the whole of Judea, and those living anywhere in Egypt as far as the borders of the 2 seas. So this is kind of interesting because it does relate to what's going on with Syria right now. And it does say at the end that he wanted to destroy by sword all the inhabitants of Moab, Ammon, the whole of Judea, and those living anywhere in Egypt as far as the borders of the 2 seas. So if you read also Book of Judith, I don't know much about this book at all, but it says the Book of Judith is a vivid story relating how in a grave crisis God delivered the Jewish people through the instrumentality of a woman. The unknown author composes edifying narrative of divine providence at the end of the second or the beginning of the 1st century BC. So it says more about writing of it. Looks like Jeremiah wrote it. Story can be divided into 2 parts. In the first, Holofernes, commander-in-chief of the armies of Nebuchadnezzar, leads an overwhelming Assyrian force in a punitive campaign against the vassals who refuse to help in the Assyrian war against the Medes. The Jewish people stubbornly resist the enemy at Bethalia, guarding the route of access to Jerusalem. Despite the warning of Achianor, the Jews cannot be conquered unless they sin against God. The proud general lays Jews cannot lay siege to the town and cuts off its water supply. After a siege of 34 days, the exhausted defenders are desperate and ready to surrender. At this point, the climax of the story, Judith, meaning Jewess, appears and promises to defeat the Assyrians. The rest of the story is too well known to repeat in detail. Having fasted and prayed, Judith dresses in her finest garments and proceeds to the Assyrian camp, where she succeeds in killing Holofernes while he lies in a drunken stupor. The Assyrians panic when they discover this, and the Jews are able to rout and slaughter them. The beautiful hymn of the people honoring Judith is often applied to Mary in the liturgy. So that was the reading for today. Chapter 1 of Book of Judith. So, yep. Okay. Have a good day.